everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Ryan from Movies with Ryan. This week we've got some recommendations to be made. If you watch anybody in the YouTube community right now or follow anybody on Instagram, you know that the Barnes & Noble's 50% off Criterion sale is going on for the whole month of July. So there's going to be a lot of recommendations and pickup videos and stuff like that. But I highly recommend, if you're interested in Criterion, if you've never gotten into Criterion, watch these videos. You might find some really good ideas. So I've picked out 10 things out of my collection I think make a good recommendation or a good stepping off point into getting into Criterion. So hopefully you enjoy these recommendations. So they're in no specific order. They're a little mix of everything. So let's get in. Let's see what my recommendations are. Starting off at number 10 is a Yasuhiro Ozu movie. It is from 1959, spine number 84. Good Morning. Now, Ozu has a whole collection of movies in the Criterion collection already. This is a good, lighthearted family comedy, I guess you could say, from him. It's basically about two young children that go on a protest strike against their parents and refuse to talk to them until they purchase them a TV set. Now, this is set in Tokyo in the suburbs post-war, and it's really just a cool dynamic on Japanese family life and just what two kids will do in order to get a TV set. I found it just very entertaining, and this was my first foray into Ozu, and it really makes me want to look at his other stuff. So I highly recommend Good Morning. Number 9, spine number 1025, Wes Anderson's Grand Budapest Hotel. Now, Wes Anderson has almost all of his movies in the Criterion collection, with the exception of Isle of Dogs and The French Dispatch. But I highly recommend, if you've never seen an Anderson movie, start with this one. It is beautiful. The color choices Anderson has in this movie, the style, the story, is just fantastic. It's basically a story that kind of flip-flop between a couple different centuries of the hotel's life and kind of tells a story throughout in the eyes of the main butler, or bellhop I should say, and the manager, and it tells stories of a couple of the guests. Fantastic movie. If you've never seen a Wes Anderson movie, great jumping off point. So my number 9 Criterion recommendation for the sale, Grand Budapest Hotel. Coming in at number 8, Dragon Inn from 1967, spine number 937. Now, this is a movie that's directed by King Hugh and is actually one in a 3-part series. There's Dragon Inn, A Touch of Zen, and The Fate of Lee Khan. Now, this was his first movie after moving from, I believe, Hong Kong to Taiwan. Yeah, to Taiwan from Hong Kong. There, I'll get it spat out. So he could have more creative freedom with his movies. And this movie is beautiful. I believe The Hateful Eight actually takes a little bit of its choreography and cinematography from this. I shouldn't say choreography, just cinematography. But it's basically about a story of these imposters that are saying they're one people for the government and they're not really, are trying to kill off the kids of an emperor that they killed. And they end up going to the Dragon Inn, where they run into 4 mysterious people. And those 4 mysterious people turn out to be complete badasses. And the fight scenes in this is great. It really reestablished Washu, however you want to say it, style martial arts. There's a bunch of swordplay in here. It is really cool. The characters you get invested in them, and it's just a good time. But I highly recommend King Hugh's Dragon Inn. Coming in at number 7, 1977, spine number 539, House. And I don't know what I can really say about this movie to convince you to buy it, except for it is a crazy trip. It's basically the story of a schoolgirl and her 6 friends going to her ailing aunt's house out in the country to help her clean up and basically prepare for things. And it turns into a nightmare. There's ghosts, there's spirits, there's a person eating piano, there's a head in a well. This is a psychedelic trip, and I suggest everybody should watch this. So for number 7, my choice, House. Number 6, 1981 Brian De Palma film, Spine number 562, starring John Travolta, Blowout. Now this is about to get a 4K release, I believe, later this year, so you may want to hold off because this movie looks beautiful on Blu-ray. So I can only imagine what the 4K will look like. But this is the movie that Quentin Tarantino actually chose John Travolta to play in Pulp Fiction. He seen him in this movie. He knew he immediately wanted him for the part. And this is what gave John Travolta the Pulp Fiction role. But he plays a sound effects engineer for a movie company. And basically is out recording some stuff and thinks he witnesses a murder. And this basically tells the story about what he has to go through to prove that. And it's really cool. It is dated as far as the technology, but it's really neat to see how he has to go through to pull the information out of what he caught in order to prove that he knows that he's seen a murder. And there's a cat and mouse game in this. I'm going to be honest, I forget who the other guy is that's in here. But anyway, the antagonist in this is great. This movie is great. And like I said, it's getting a 4K release. If you want to hold out for the 4K, you can always wait until the November sale. But the Blu-ray looks fantastic. So I highly recommend, coming in at number 6, Blowout. Coming at number 5, Spine number 221, 1952, Akira Kurosawa, Akiru. This was my first jump out of samurai movies for Akira for me into his dramatic stuff, and I'm glad I went with this. By far, this is probably one of my favorite movies. It's basically about an aging bureaucrat that works for the government, city government, and he comes to find out has stomach cancer, and he ups and just disappears from his job. He stops showing up, he goes out and he starts living life. He's finding his meaning before death. And it is just a very imposing look on mortality. Very well told, very well shot and crafted by Akira. I highly recommend picking this up, if anything. If you want to get into Akira Kurosawa besides the samurai stuff, I would start here. So that is my number 5 choice, Akiru. Coming at number 4, Spine number 1061, 2018's Minding the Gap by Bing Liu. This is a documentary that I had heard about. I think I picked this up either on a Target Buy 2 Get 1 free or the flash sale earlier this year. I do not remember. But I'd heard great things about it. And it's basically the story, Bing Liu is actually in it, and it's a story of his hometown that's in Midwest America that's kind of just falling apart. The movie really talks about how the social decay has happened, and just the general decay of the city they live in, and how there's really no hope for the young people. But it follows some skateboarders and their will to make it out and their love for skateboarding. And it starts off as a really, really good look at skateboarders and their life and skateboarding, and then it morphs into a personal documentary. He really starts looking at some problems of one of the skateboarders, drinking, abuse, and then another skateboarder, how he really wants to get out and make it. And this documentary was great. It was shot beautifully. The camera techniques that he uses to capture the skateboarding and the personal stuff is fantastic. The people that are in it are great, and it's just an overall great story. So for my number 4, Minding the Gap. Breaking into the top 3, Spine number 1038, 2019's Marriage Story, a movie by Noah Baumbach. And I love Noah Baumbach and his movies. They're fantastic. This was a Netflix movie, I believe. Yes, Netflix. So if you didn't have Netflix, you probably didn't get to see this. Luckily, Criterion picked this up and put it out. Stars Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, among some other people. And this movie is fantastic. It basically looks at marriage life and what happens when they go through a nasty divorce and all the consequences, especially involving a kid. And Adam and Scarlett's acting in this is top notch. I was mad, I was crying, upset, elated all through this movie. It hits all the points. If you've not seen this and you want a good drama, highly recommend Marriage Story. So number 3, this is my pick, my recommendation for the 50% off Criterion sale. Coming in at number 2, and coincidentally, Spine number 2, it's 1954, Akira Kurosawa, Seven Samurai. Yes, I've got Akiru in here again, and I cannot pass up having one of his samurai movies in here. This movie is the base for a lot of American movies. Westerns pretty much are derived from this. Everything. You can account this movie for being the inspiration of a lot of things. Now, it is long, 207 minutes, but it is entertaining throughout. It keeps your attention and is basically the story of 7 samurai helping a town from the warlord coming in and wiping them out, stealing all their stuff. And it's action-packed, minimal dialogue, because that's just the way the samurai are, but it's meaningful dialogue. And Akira Kurosawa captures just magic with this movie. So I highly recommend Seven Samurai, especially if you want to get into Japanese samurai stuff. This is the best starting point for that. All right, we're down to the number 1 recommendation, folks. Spine numbers 857, 858, 859, 1995, 2004, and 2013. Richard Linklater's The Before Trilogy. I remember the day I bought this. This is actually, I believe, one of my first Criterions. I went into the sale. I actually asked the gentleman that was working there that I wanted something that would blow me away. And he suggested this. I knew who Richard Linklater was. This stars Ethan Hawke. I knew who that was. And Julie Delpy, which I did not quite know who that was. And he said this was one of his favorite trilogies of all time. I bought it. It sat on the shelf, probably for about a year and a half. I finally watched it at the end of last year after I kept hearing people talk about it. And it's their favorite trilogy. Of course, Lord of the Rings is there too. But as far as movies go and substance and style, that this was a great trilogy. So I decided to watch it. And I was blown away. Heavily dialogue driven about relationships, the ins and outs, the ups, the downs. And starts off before sunrise, I believe. Is it Before Sunrise? Yeah, Before Sunrise. I'm sorry. Before Sunrise is the first one, then Before Sunset, and then Before Midnight. So Before Sunrise starts off, Ethan Hawke is a tourist, and he's riding a train, and he meets a woman on there that's a Paris University student. And they talk, and they get off in Vienna, and they decide to just go about the town before they have to leave the next morning. And it's just a beautiful picture of 2 people getting to know each other. The dialogue is fantastic. The little quirks and conversations and just every little thing that happens has purpose and meaning, and it's beautiful. Flash forward 9 years. Actual 9 years and a gap in the story 9 years. They've went their way. They did not meet up like they had planned, and Julie's character shows up at Ethan's book signing because he's now an author. And they rekindle, and things happen. They have more conversation, and it goes all about what happened. Fantastic movie. And then we go into Before Midnight, where it has leaped forward again in actual time 9 years and storyline 9 years, and they're deep in their relationship, their marriage. They have children, and it really just talks about their ups and downs while being married. Were things the way they wanted them? Did things go the way they thought they would? Has things gotten better or worse? But I highly recommend purchasing this, especially at the 50% off, because I mean it's a great deal. You get 3 movies, you're basically not, I don't know, $14 a piece, something like that. It's great packaging too. Comes in 3 little digipacks in a nice little box. But Richard Linklater's The Before trilogy, I would recommend this all day, any day, to everyone. Doesn't matter your movie style, I think anybody should enjoy these. So that's it. That's my 10 recommendations for the Criterion 50% off sale at Barnes & Noble's. So hopefully some of these movies caught your guys' eyes. Maybe I'll encourage you to go pick them up, maybe purchase them, watch them, fairly quickly. If you have any questions, comments, put them down below. If you like this video, please like it. If you're not subscribed to me, please do. It really helps me out. I greatly appreciate it. And see what else we got coming up for this month. I'm sure I'm going to get out to Barnes & Noble's and do a video and a hunt and see what I got in there. As the filming of this movie, I do have an order already in for Barnes & Noble's for some movies. I should be getting them within the next week. So that'll be an unboxing. And that's going to do it. So, hopefully you all had a great 4th of July. That was just Monday. Hopefully it was safe, filled with fireworks and fun and family. And of course, like I always end it, this is Ryan from Movies with Ryan. Until I see you again, have a fantastic night.